Well, hello and welcome to Footy Abroad here on this lovely Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025. Jake, what are you smirking at?
Keep doing the intro. Keep going.
We are here on a nice, cold, it's not winter yet, I don't think, but gee, I tell you what, I'm feeling it.
Fuck, it's cold, right?
Oh,
Jesus
man.
Christ.
Oh, dude.
I've got a heater. I've got an oscillating heater going. It is so bloody cold in the house.
Yeah. No, I copped it. I don't get sick, rarely get sick. And then yesterday I woke up. Whoa. I can only blame the weather, I think. But anyway, guys, we are here after a very interesting weekend. And we're happy to have all four of us here again. Luke, you couldn't be with us last week, but mate, well, I guess we'll just start with you. How you going? How's your team going?
It's good. It's good. We're 2 points clear on top of the table. Well, I've kept it in for 10 weeks, but it feels good to be back in some 2023 form, and just putting teams away, beating the Crows. It's our 10th win against the Crows in a row, which is just absolutely wild when you sort of think about it. We practically own South Australia at the moment because I think we have a 5-game winning streak against the Power, 5 games in Adelaide Oval, whatever it's called. It's been it's been good. It was a really good game. It was fucking like the weather. It was just pouring. It was very dirty game, but no, it's good on top of the table, and looking down at you guys, I'd say it's a nice change, but it usually always happens. So
I actually went to the Collingwood Adelaide game.
Yeah, I remember, you were saying in the group chat. Yeah,
I wanted to go and watch real football, and just wanted to know what it was like to watch. Yeah, real football. Teams that are expected to do what they do, and they end up doing it even with expectations. So, well done. Go Pies.
Oh, God, I'm clipping that for the end of year celebrations.
Yeah. Pommy, how about our Blues, mate? Friday night SCG.
Just trying to inject some life into the corpse that is me. Day 3 man flu, struggling. We've seen the script before, isn't it? I mean, at the minute, being a Carlton fan is reminiscent of the movie industry at the moment, isn't it? They've completely banned paedophile rings. They just have to keep doing 80s movies, and that's what we are now, aren't we? We're just doing the same plot line. You've seen it before. We've lived it, haven't we? But I mean, big week this week because we've got the most fraudulent team in the AFL. So they're bruised, they're battered. It's all right. This time next week, I'll be back where I belong, on the top.
And the Blues will be back this time next week. The Blues are back.
Oh, you know me. You never hear them words from me, but I'll be happy next week.
You'll probably hear them from me. Yeah, it was. You came on the fan cams after the game Friday, and you used the word inevitable. It was such a good word because that's exactly what it felt like watching missed opportunities in the first quarter come back to bite us, and then the second half, once I felt that we had stopped the 2 or 3 players that were going to ever be the difference between us winning and losing, and then you just proceed to watch them come out from the woodwork and just dominate, and you just deja vu. Same questions on the fan cams and throughout the week. Is it the coach? Is it the players? Is it the game style? Is it crash and bash? Is it the modern game? Literally, it's just getting so repetitive and so mind-numbing. But classic Carlton. So, yeah. Jake?
Oh, man. I got to ask a question. Am I a clown for thinking that we would go there and beat the Eagles?
No.
Because
That was
Because they
standards.
they made. Nah. They made. Boys, they've made me feel like a clown this week. Yeah, it's look. You said inevitable for your game, and I hate to say it, but the vibe, not from me, but from St Kilda community, the fans going to this game was, this is a game we're going to lose. And all that energy, all that negative energy, you know, it got the job done, and it had to be this week, didn't it? It had to be this week. We were just
Had to be the Eagles.
we weren't even in the game, man. Like, I don't know if you boys watched it, but we didn't fire a shot. We didn't fire a single shot against the bottom team that had not won a game. And I know they had some very significant circumstances and tragic, obviously, but I still expected us to weather the storm, you know, be professional about it, maybe not play the best type of football, but do enough. And, I mean, we were 6 goals down at one point. It's not like we've lost by a point and I'm coming here overreacting. We were out, down and out halfway through that last quarter. So I feel they made me feel silly for thinking, yeah, we'll go there and get the win. It's like I forgot, you know, they had this in their locker. And the Carlton game, like if you had have gone back 2 weeks and said, okay, after the Fremantle game where we played so well that in the next 2 weeks you're going to lose to Carlton and then you're going to lose to West Coast, I would have said, how the hell did we lose to Carlton? I can't believe that. No, that's a bad joke, but
Probably not the time, is it? I promised I'd be nice.
yeah. No, the Carlton loss wasn't that bad. I thought our form in the Carlton game was still good enough to beat the Eagles, but the Eagles, to their credit, came out guns blazing. Their pressure rating was, I think Pom, you said off air that against Carlton it was 111, and against us it was upwards of 240 for most of the game, non-stop. So they threw everything at us, and we broke. We buckled under the pressure that they threw at us. And if we're doing that against them, no offense, any team will come to town and go put a little pressure on the Sainers and we'll break. So, but again, it might be typical Saints to then just beat the Suns at Marvel on Sunday, you know, and then now coming back next week going, here we go.
So,
I know, Terry's already going. There's the lock of the week, but it's just like
100%. 100%. I'm telling you now, they're my lock of the week. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
It's
It's just so St Kilda.
I'm sick of that so St Kilda stuff though. This week it broke me. Other losses I've kind of taken. I think I've taken them pretty well because we've played good teams. We've played some pretty good teams.
We played good footy. You have played good footy,
and we've played good footy, but this was none of that. This was none of that. Yeah,
Pommy?
Yes, Pom.
I
yes.
have a question.
Go for it.
Right? And this will settle a bet in my group chat with the boys. But you know your first 90 seconds of your review?
Yes.
Were you post crying?
No. Did it really look like that?
Yeah,
looked like you were no. I was actually going to
cost me
ask.
a couple of $100.
No. I didn't shit. I was processing what the hell I was going to say, and I didn't know what to say. I was, and Mum and Dad were in the other room, and Mum was as pissed off as me, if not more. So I was just like, I can't believe we lost that game. It took me back to review. It felt like a review that I did like 2018-19, where we were kind of bad and Ratton. We kind of got Ratton on board around that time, Allard Richardson days. I was like, I thought we were done with that. I thought we were done with those performances, but clearly not.
Best
I
genuinely
wanted to, like, when I saw your review, I saw your first inhale, exhale, like, hey, Sainers, I was like, oh my God, he's crashing out. But you did it well.
No, It's just people, I just don't find that, I just don't want to use excuses for this type of performance. And I think I've heard it all before. I've seen it all before, but I thought if we're going to demand certain standards from these players, then we can't let them off the hook after something like that. But
Amen.
some people disagree with me. They think, oh, we're young, this and that. And I go, that's not good enough. I expect so much better from this team. And yeah, Suns this week, and they're flying. So this will be interesting game to bounce back against.
Hey, Luke, when's the last time you really crashed out over a Collingwood loss? I feel like it's been forever.
You know what? It probably has, because I didn't even crash out after the GWS loss in the opening round. I reckon.
I know.
Let me. No, that doesn't count. I was really drunk that night.
Back in
I was going to say for me.
It was
back in Tobers when I was six double solos, hard rated solos deep. Let me look at the. Yeah, I can't honestly. I can't remember. It would have been sometime. It would have been sometime last year, and there's no doubt there would have been a Carlton. Actually, no, I know that I know exactly the game. It was last year when we lost to Hawthorn by like 60-something points. Towards the end of the year, I was there at the MCG with Dad. It was a rainy. I'm pretty sure it was a raining day, just a gross day, and Hawthorn just took us out to the cleaners. That's when they sort of stamped themselves. And this is when we had lost 4 games in a row. I think they might have been that 4th game that we lost in a row after the bye. And they just took us out to the cleaners. And I remember, I was there after the siren, the seats were empty, and I was there. I was crashing out hard. That was a tough fucking watch, especially because that was the game that Ginnivan did his night to the Collingwood cheer squad. Yeah.
Sorry to hear about that, Swoop. I hope you're okay.
No, that's okay. We're top of the ladder now, so it kind of helps, you know.
Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all right, mate. Sending thoughts.
I'm not doing too bad. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Just checking. Yeah, just checking. That's okay.
Damn. The pies are so good. Teresa, for being the only guy ballsy enough to back the pies against Adelaide. Yeah, they're just. I'm not going to lie. I wore black and white to the game on Saturday. Had like a white hoodie with a black overcoat. I made sure no one saw who I was. And I promise you, I left that ground. I was like, they're going to win the flag. Like, they're nowhere near full strength. They're just finding a way. Like, if that's Carlton, we make excuses. Oh, he wasn't playing. So, yeah. Fair play. But I'm just hoping that it's the old, you peak too early, but I don't think it will be.
I don't even think we're peaking, to be honest. I think we're just winning. I think that's
no. Here he is.
Look at him. Look at him now. Look at him. All right, enough. Yeah, let's get to the topics. All right,
Jake.
Let's get to the bloody topics. He's acting like they just won. He's acting like they just won a prelim. All right, they beat Adelaide by 10 points. Adelaide had chances.
Jake, do you know what a prelim is, Jake? Jake, do you know what a prelim is?
Yes.
You know what?
Why are you asking me? Why are you asking me, not these two? Why are you picking on me, mate?
You're picking on me
because you're just giving this. Anyway.
All right. Well. Look, I just think it's fair to give the pies their flowers.
Yes, of
they
course.
deserve it. Anyway, so anyway, I think what we'll do is we'll start our topics and our questions and go from there. Pommy, do you want to kick us off?
I'm gonna go first. I gotta go first, right? Okay, so chatting this week. I want to know from chat and you guys. Who is your first ever idol when you were growing up? The first person you remember that's not family, sport related, who was your idol, who, if we had 5-year-old you would tell, and the obscurer the better. And obviously why.
That's a tough one.
Someone just said Bootsma in the chat.
Hey.
Well, it'd be better if it's from a burner account as well, because that would really add to the irony.
Well, this isn't really obscure, but Michael Jordan. I remember I watched Space Jam, and I think that really solidified it. I was a real young tacker.
That's
but
so
yeah,
cool that's the reason.
Space,
yeah.
good movie.
Played basketball as a kid, fell in love with the game, and then fell in love with Michael Jordan. But then sometime pretty quickly after that, it was just Carlton in general. I think Cuda would have been my first footy one, though. Yeah.
And how did that influence you in adulthood? Like, do you feel like that's modeled you in any way?
Yeah, definitely. My screensaver on my desktops here is a photo of Michael Jordan, and it says "Change the game." I've always been fascinated by his ability to transcend generations. Like, it's been 30 years since he played, and they're still talking about. I mean, only now are we starting to get the first conversation around who's, like, if anyone is the GOAT over him. He kind of translated into Kobe Bryant a little bit for me. I love the mentality. I love the tenacity and the intensity of getting after something. I really like that basketball culture, that Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant intensity. I was just enthralled by it. I grew up with a lot of the principles that I learned in life based off how these guys were talking. So yeah, Carlton was more of a love, like a release, but they weren't really inspiring, to be fair. But yeah,
guilty pleasure.
Yeah, Jordan and basketball in general was inspiring to me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jake looks deep.
No, I don't actually know, to be honest. Like, I don't know, like sporting idol. I wasn't big on sport up until later, and it was more like EPL with my uncle, and then Collingwood, and then Saints. Alan Didak was my first like favorite player, but not obviously idol. And then Lenny Hayes. Lenny Hayes was the only one where I was like lined up for 3 or 4 hours when he brought his book out. Was on my work lunch break. You know, borderline got in trouble for missing a meeting because I didn't want to not get that chance to meet him and have him sign the book and everything. So he's the one. He's the only like footballer that I've gone out of my way to, dedicate that time to, and then to buy their book and read it. And the way he goes about it. I don't know if that's affected me long term, though, I'd have to say. Like, it's more sporting idols, like the way I play football or the way I treat teammates and that sort of thing. But I don't know if it's maybe subconsciously in adulthood, but I can't imagine it'd be actively in front of mine, if that makes sense.
Mate, I love it.
Well, Andy Roddick, but I've said that before. Because, he makes a lot of grand slams and loses, but is resilient enough to then continue, even though he's playing against the absolute GOATs and he may not get the success. You keep giving yourself a chance. I've always thought that's really inspiring to, not just the success, but to put yourself in a position, whether it's work, business, sport, friendship, put yourself in that position. You might get hurt, but it's better than not getting there at all. That's kind of an approach I like to carry through. Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Jake. Like, I didn't really start watching just any sport until I was a little bit older. But my first favorite Collingwood player was Brodie Holland, which is wild to think about because now I do a bloody podcast with him. So that's just insane.
Wow.
But I guess my first idols, if we can move away from sports, because I wasn't sort of a sports guy when I was a kid, would be like Backstreet Boys or Five. I really wanted to be a singer, like a performer. So I remember in primary school doing talent shows and stuff. It would always be doing singing Backstreet Boys songs in front of like the school and stuff like that. So so I guess they were my first real idols. But then I grew up to idolize, I guess, when I was watching football, like Brodie Holland, Dale Thomas as well. Grew up with him because I was in year 7 when him and Pendles got drafted, and I loved his flair. But yeah, that would be my answer.
And did like any of them like influence you in adulthood when you look back?
I think they did influence me, especially, I guess it sounds silly, but especially like the boy bands growing up, they influenced like my love for music and wanting to perform and, you know, being in bands, being on stage and giving me, I guess they gave me that, that want to be like in front of a screen or in front of a camera, you know, front and center, which translates to what I do now with Brody and Dale. It was very much just, guess the way I went about sort of playing football or trying to play football anyway, because I wasn't very good at playing football. But yeah, I think it would be more, I think the Backstreet Boys and Five had more say on how what I took out of them being my idols growing up.
Man, I love that. Really interesting. I just, it was something that I was having a conversation with the boys were doing, my kids were doing people that influence them, who they really want to be when they grow up. And it got me thinking like obscure ones, isn't it? That when you look back now and you kind of think, why did I like that person? And it's interesting because I love like how Terry cemented his love, like you with Five, Backstreet Boys, and your peculiar journey to AFL. Do you know what I mean? Choosing a new team, Jake, and finding something to love. It's fascinating. And how it maybe influences you in life. Because I looked mine, weirdly, I don't know if anyone knows who it is, but was Severiano Ballesteros. He was a golfer.
Okay.
And he was like my nana's favourite golfer. And there was, when I started playing for representative golf and playing for my county, you can kind of get overcoached. It was like the first time I'd ever been trained, and they tried to change things in my swing. And I didn't really like it. And my nan showed me this old footage, and it was, you know, the grainy footage. And we used to have a guy called Wolstenholme, who was the golf commentator, and he was like proper BBC, you know, like real posh. He'd be like, good afternoon.
I think you're talking about another BBC. Sorry.
Yeah. but she showed me this interview, and it was basically it was Wolstenholme interviews him, and he goes, Mr. Ballesteros, you have captivated the British public with your cavalier style and your devil-may-care attitude. Can you explain to the viewers at home how you go about your golf game? And he just looks at the guy, obviously like, what the fuck is he on about? And goes, I see the ball, I hit it very, very hard, and then I hit it again. And just walked off. And like, it captivated me as a kid that he'd simplified something so complicated and played it in his way. And he's well worth, if you go and look out, if you go and Google him, because he played shots out of trees. He played shots off car parks. He didn't take drops and penalties. He learned to play the game with a 3-iron he found on the beach. It's just a fascinating thing. And that kind of inspired me in life as I got older to always do the opposite, the difference. You know, not be scared of going against the norm. Don't do what other people tell you to do just because that's what they expect. Always do things your way and be careful. And I agree with Kane. Don't Google BBC. Google Sevi Ballesteros. And if you are Googling BBC, do it on someone else's computer.
I think when it comes to idols as well, the older I got and get, the more I realize I don't know if you really truly want to meet them, but it's just the attributes that you gravitate to. So Ballesteros, you gravitated towards the attitude of you do it anyway. It doesn't need to be some fancy way of doing things. You just get it done. Yeah, because the older I've gotten and the more I've met people who I thought I idolized, I actually meet them in real life and I'm just like, well, you are just not impressive at all as a human being. It's just certain characteristics which were really impressive at a young age that inspired you, you know? So I always try to remind people of that. Like, don't ever put anyone too high up on a pedestal, because we're all...
Yeah, well, they tell you never to meet your heroes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's a fascinating point you made, Terry. Fascinating point, because it's something that annoys me, you know, when people make mistakes who are celebrities and then they're blamed for how they may teach kids. Like growing up as a teenager, I love Shane Warne, right? And like as a teenager, probably like, you know, what I wanted was his ability with girls. That was it. But At 13, I wasn't thinking about smoking durries and eating pizzas on Lords and drink driving and pissing and in the street. It was the sporting acumen and his aura that turned me on as a kid, thinking I wish I was that big and that bold and people and the way he went about the game. So I agree with you there, Terry. It's fascinating how idols suddenly become benchmarks on how to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Kobe had his struggles with things that happen off the court. Jordan is a chronic gambler, and all sorts of things about his character come out the older you get about him. So it's not so much the person I've learned. It's just there's certain attributes, and I guess I gravitate towards people who have such an obsession over something and they create something from that. I think that's the characteristic ultimately. Like, as I got older, I mean, like Robbie from AFTV, obviously he's not an idol, but like definitely inspired by. I think Gary V had moments where he was definitely an inspiration for me, and taken bits and pieces from I think both of them. Yeah.
Have you ever met your idols? Anyone? As you've got older, like someone that you loved as a kid.
There was one. I don't want to say who it is because it's not appropriate. And I was like, "Fuck." He's like, "You're a wet wipe."
Oh, shit.
Okay.
I really want to know who it is, though. Do I know who it is?
Yeah.
Have you told me before?
No.
Oh. I was genuinely excited then.
Well, I've met Brody Holland, which is incredible. Like I
Give us a plug, Swoop. That was smooth. Give us a plug.
No, I just get to do that podcast. It's just on Swoop Luke. I get to just do that podcast with him every week. But I haven't met the Backstreet Boys yet, unfortunately. Maybe next time they come to Australia. And I think who asked me my favorite Backstreet Boy? It was Nick. It's always Nick Carter.
Teresa's.
Oh God damn.
Ari, I do a show every Wednesday with mine. #blessed. Aren't you a little cutie?
Cute.
He's trying to get a pay rise there, isn't he? Hey, so love it from Ari. Well. It's clever that, mate.
Jake, you want to go next? Wait, are you done? Is that it?
Oh yeah. The jury rests, Your Honor.
I like it. Jake.
This might be very related to the week that I'm having, but I'm just curious on your thoughts on, I don't know, the payments and match fees and how that all works into the overall salary of the AFL player. If any of you boys know that, I'd love to hear it. But I'm just curious, do you think performance payments or more incentives for winning, for hitting certain milestones in a game would somewhat increase standards and maybe more reward for success on a weekly basis? Like, if you get dropped, you get less of a match fee. If you play and you play well and we win, you get a bonus. Like these sort of things. Because I just was thinking more about like even Jamara and how he's not playing and the Bulldogs are just paying him, like paying his huge salary. Like, is there not a world where you get a base salary and then you get a performance bonus? So you're on a certain, if you don't play a single game, you get 250K, all right? And then you play well and your team wins, you get a pay rise. You play well individually, you win accolades, you get a pay rise. More incentives, more performance, driving standards, winning. Is that a possibility? Is that something that's happening right now? I personally don't think it is, but if I'm wrong, please let me know. Like, is it just match fees? How does it work?
Yeah, I think I remember reading somewhere that like the big names, so like for example, Scott Pendlebury, Steel Sidebottom, they'll get, all right, here's $800,000 for the year base. But the younger guys, they do get incentive, like match, but only like match, not if they not a win or lose. So like it'll be okay. Your base is 250. Every match you play, it's 4K extra. Because it was on a podcast or something. Some ex-player was saying it that's how it sort of worked. But I know that there are you obviously everyone know that there are clauses where if you finish top 3 in the Copeland or your own best and fairest, you get more money. So that you're incentivized. If you're a big player, you're incentivized to play better throughout the year to finish in the top 3. But, Hugo Garcia is not going to have a clause in his contract that says if you finish top 3 in the Saints DNF, you're going to get, you know what I mean?
That's my point. Because how many, we've all been through it where your team plays and they play in a certain way and you're like, they shouldn't even get paid this week. And it's like, I know that's obviously over the top and, they have to get paid. They train during the week. They put in the hours regardless of win or loss. But surely there could be something in there that's like, look, you get your base, but if we win on the weekend, you all get a certain amount. There's a percentage in your contract. You get a bonus, right? You get a performance bonus. Do you think that's something that clubs could look at? Is that something that a club could drive and do on their own, separate from the AFL, or is the contract locked in via the AFL across the board? So every team, you would know better than anyone, Pom. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think these sort of incentives would help with performance, or do you think it's irrelevant at the end of the day, and that senior players in particular would play the same?
Yeah, so to answer your first point on clauses, there could be clauses in anything. So like Luke nailed it. So a lot of them will have B&F contracts, all Australian nominations, all Australian listed squads, mark of the year. I think it was Pickett who negotiated in his recent deal with Melbourne that there's a massive bonus if he gets goal of the year. I think it was Pickett. It was one of the Indigenous players that had that. His agent had slipped it in that he got a good Brucey bonus. So I mean that's interesting. And then obviously to answer your question about should it, that's why Geelong are being investigated. So people misread Geelong. Geelong aren't being investigated for a breach. They're one of 3 clubs that are being investigated, which has then caused the AFL to do a relook at all 18 clubs' contracts. So people like to blame Geelong, but it's that they're looking now at renegotiating. It's just to answer your question, it probably will come in. I've been a firm believer though that you can do whatever you want, providing you're in the contract, providing you're in the player payments range and the player cap. You can do anything you want with them. There's only a minimum wage. So that's the only rule the AFL have is a minimum wage for ages of players that you can't go under. So there's a bare minimum, which is heavily negotiated. But there's nothing that stops you, like for argument's sake, let's use, I don't know, Jesse Motlop. There's nothing that stops you saying, right, 100 to 200 base rate, kick 10 goals, that releases a trigger. It'll work out at an extra 150K. If you play the whole season, that's an extra 50K. There's nothing that stops them doing that at all. It's just that players and players' agents are stupid.
But to me, a lot of those bonuses you just listed off, they are all individual accolades. They are all just on the player. And I get that it's in their control. They should get that. But I'm talking about specifically win-loss. Like if you're a Carlton and you're expected to win games and you don't, surely don't you think the players should be somewhat penalized in a way for those performances in that respect or not? You don't think it would help them knowing that? Or do you think the idea of just being successful in general without any monetary link is good enough?
It would be. I'd agree with you that, but there will be clauses. Like I'm sure Patrick Cripps has a clause in his contract that top 8 he gets a higher tier. Top 4 he gets a higher tier. Wins a flag he gets a higher tier. I agree with that. I mean, in an ideal world, I would like to see a soft cap for bonuses, so clubs could negotiate off the back of their revenue. So you know that you could have a tier of revenue and incentive. Because you know when you see memberships as a POM, I'm like, why do people touch themselves when they've got 100k members? Who cares how many fans you've got? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I always find it fascinating. Like, you know, Carlton fans, they did it heavily when we went from like 40k to 100. I'm like, no shit, you're a big club and you're in the 8. So look at Richmond. They had like no one, won a flag, and suddenly they had 100k. It's like easy e-commerce in sport, isn't it? Win, people come and watch you. Lose, people go elsewhere. I'd like to see something like an incentive for the backroom staff as well. If we hit certain amount of membership, certain type of revenue sold, that actually helps the football department, that they then get more to spend in the soft cap. And you could do that based on where they are now. So North, St Kilda, teams that don't have big fan bases, they're not put offside versus Carlton and Collingwood, who could easily do it. The target's fluctuated by the AFL to try and encourage growth, which then helps the football club as well. So I agree with you. I think there should be massive incentives. It'd be interesting because I've always said if I was the Carlton president, I would change the contracts of coaches, because I think it's happened at your club, St Kilda, and it's happened at Pies. When you've got all the assistant coaches and the line coaches, how many times when the head coach is under pressure do the other guys start stabbing him in the back and trying to jobby for their provisional temporary coach's job? But in soccer, in their contract, they are bound by their senior coach. So if he gets sacked, there's a clause to sack everyone. So it enforces that loyalty, that it forces the line coaches to be subservient and do whatever the boss says. Because if he gets sacked, we can sack everyone. So I like them kind of things you're suggesting. It's just the AFL Players Association has way too much power. Way too much power. So what you're suggesting could potentially mean they have to work for their money as opposed to just be guaranteed it. But you would get a better system, no doubt. Better sport.
Some standards.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I like it. I would be all
but
for it.
It's like one of them
yeah.
fagazis. When you hear, he offered a pay cut, they don't actually take pay cuts. So when Cripps took a pay cut, what he will have done is he will have negotiated in his deal when the player payments rise, his salary as it is will rise in line with that. So even though he's taken a pay cut from what he's worth, most agents will insert a clause that if it's 800k a year now, if the player payments go up by 20%, Cripper's base will go up by 20%. So 10%, 20% of 800k is 160,000. So it goes up to 960. So it still takes up the same amount of cap space. But that's what happens. And Hodge did a great video where he explained and dispelled the myth at Hawthorn that, yes, we all took a pay cut to be at the same price, but it kept the cap at the same because every time the cap went up, ours went slightly up together. So it's not like people think that Cripps is playing for free or Steele's playing for free. He's still being paid handsomely and he's covered his ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just popped into my head and thought,
I like it.
I don't know how it works in other sports, but yeah.
Yeah. Luke?
Beautiful. Yeah, I kind of want to know. So the other day, on Saturday, I had, obviously Pies won anyway. I went out and stuff, had a big day, got home, and I just, even though all of that sort of stuff happened and I had a really good day, I just felt really defeated. I got into bed and I don't know if I was overstimulated or anything like that, but I felt really, really just shit. Just really terrible. And I had a read of my book and got to sleep in a few minutes. And then on Sunday, I spent the day doing things that sort of rejuvenated my batteries when I was going, so I didn't spiral, because I know if I had sort of, I needed something to really pep me up to not make me spiral and rejuvenate my batteries. I want to know what you guys do to rejuvenate, your batteries when you do feel down in the dumps and defeat. And I guess this goes hand in hand with the tragic passing of Adam Selwood and wanting to as men as well with a platform talking about it. I know we do that all the time anyway, but making it talking about it and I just want to know what you guys do and stuff like that.
It's a great one. It's a great question. What do I do to recharge my batteries? Things that are out of my control that recharge my batteries: Carlton, footy, going to the
Mhm.
footy, winning, to be honest, which is out of my control. They can generally save me if I'm going bad. Walking
Yeah,
for
good one.
sure
Exercise is
is a
good.
big one. Like literally just get out and walk,
Yeah.
breathe the fresh air. If I do yoga, I don't do it as much as I should, but when I do like meditation and yoga, like every time, it just grounds me and makes me feel better. It's like going to the gym. You never regret a session that you do.
Yeah.
I think just some sort of action, taking some sort of action, because it's really easy to just lay there and spiral. Like really, really easy to just get on your
Yeah.
phone and
Yeah.
doom scroll,
Yep.
and that doesn't make you feel any better as well. So yeah.
Mine would be, the first thing that comes to mind is my weekend, like my morning farmers markets. I love going to them and finding different ones.
Ooh.
So like Elwood is top notch if you haven't been. Burundara is another one. And I've started going on Sunday mornings. My parents actually found a really good one down like Latrobe Uni. I think it's called Kingsbury Market.
Oh, yeah. I've been to
Awesome
that one
one.
before. Yep.
Yeah, I've been the last 2 Sunday mornings with them, and it was just really nice. Like even like you meet the people that run the stalls, and like my ex-girlfriend had stalls, and she would go to markets and everything, and I saw the amount of work that it took for them to set them up, get there 6 a.m. They may not even sell much, whatever you're selling, right? But they still rock up every single weekend, rain, hail, shine, whatever, and yeah, like to meet them and then recognize them, and they recognize you, like, oh, I saw you at the Elwood one, and you get to chat and you kind of make friends in that world, and buy their product, and it's fresh food, and it just makes you feel good. Like instead of Uber Eats or just going to Coles, I love going and buying the fresh food, the bread, and you know your people there. You know this guy, you know their name. At Elwood and Burundara, there's Michael, who has his own little kitchen and cooks the best omelette in the world, and he's a Carlton fan, funnily enough, and we chat all the time. He loves talking about his old movies, and I don't see him in any other, like, that's the only time I see this guy. And I just love that sort of connection with someone that I only see in that moment. I won't see him for 2 weeks, and then the market comes up, I go back, we continue the conversation like it's been paused, right? So that recharges me the most, especially when it's like a cold Melbourne morning. You get the puffer jacket on, the sun's coming out, you know, the grass is kind of icy, and then you smell the food and you get what you need, and you go home, you're like, I feel pretty established. I feel like I've achieved something, you know? And then obviously indoor soccer is the big one, or futsal on Wednesday nights in Blackburn. That recharges me big time. That's the midweek Wednesday night. Go there and score a few goals and yeah, just break a sweat. Really basic stuff, you know? Good food, good fitness. That's all I need.
Love that.
Tell you what I don't do. I don't watch your TikTok at 3 a.m. when you're telling me that dogs only miss you because they can't smell you anymore.
Mate, and that's
absolutely destroyed me.
That actually happened on Saturday night. That's when I crashed out and I felt really defeated. I was in bed, and you know, obviously, people watching who don't have me on social media won't see that. But I was in bed. I was just scrolling through TikTok, and I just, you know, everyone sort of scrolls through TikTok watching funny videos. Then I got to this video that was like, oh, you know, dogs can't tell time because they're dogs, but they can tell the time that you leave by if your scent is still in the room. So if you're gone for 10 minutes, they can still smell you, so they're not that excited. But if you're gone for 8 hours and you come back and they're all jumping on you, it's because they don't have your smell in the room or in the house anymore, and that's how they know by how long you left. And I literally was just bawling my fucking, and that's when I knew she's all over. I am crashing out hard. I needed a tea. I needed to finish. I needed to read my book. And yeah, so that was, yeah. And then I needed Sunday to rejuvenate my batteries.
Oh, can I add one more? I just remembered a really good shitty horror movie every time. Just a really bad movie that I don't need to like fully focus on, but like you don't really care about the story, but you're watching it anyway. And like there's so many online. Like I watched what was it called? The Descent recently. Absolute shocker, but also a good movie. But you're just watching it like, and you're kind of like, this guy's gonna die, she's gonna die. It's funny. Like just watching any type of thriller or horror movie is always a good time.
Interesting.
Yeah, delve into my psyche there.
Yeah, I was in a real good mood until I watched Swoop's TikTok.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry, mate.
And you absolutely crashed me out. I've got three. So, firstly, music, always music, and depending on how sad I am, I like to listen to equally sad music. So I like the Smiths. So I like to go really dark, and that helps me see a little bit of perspective. And it sounds weird, but I always feel that if I can hear someone singing how I feel, I kind of feel content that someone else is feeling what I'm feeling, so it doesn't make it so bad. That's probably really psychotic and probably a bad thing. The other one is literally a bit of alone time. I like spending time on my own, and it's one of the hardest things to do in this house, having kids and stuff like that. But a new thing in my life, and I don't want to say this out loud because Mrs. Pommel here, but being around my kids and my family is something that is weird. Zoe has this weird, fascinating just aura that I can sit in a room and say nothing to her. She can be doing her own thing, but I can just be in her presence. And for some reason, everything melts away. It doesn't matter anymore. Like my place is here. This is where I need to be. And that sense of, it's almost like being grounding with Zoe. So that's a huge thing for me. Like my wife, my kids, this will probably be clipped because it's soppy, but I like playing with the cat. Essie Mel, my little cat, that makes it. So like, spending time with my family, and shout out my father-in-law. He's 85 today. That's what I've been chowing down on, his birthday cake. So happy birthday, David. Love you, mate.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy birthday, David.
Thanks for making me support Carlton. Appreciate it. But yeah, that's what I'll do. So that's my advice to everyone. Like, make sure you love yourself.
Yeah.
Like, don't go as hard as I do, because I can literally not talk to someone for 20 years and never be sad. I don't need people, but like, that is a big thing for me. Just being with myself and in my own thoughts does really help me, because I can kind of process it then, but it's not for everyone, because it can drive you chaotic. But I've always liked that. Just my own, enjoy your own company. So it's a big thing. If you can enjoy yourself,
or
as you say, practice with yourself. It's the best practice for the real thing.
Sit at home, play AFL 26. You know, it's just it's a good time.
Okay.
Yeah, I always like to try and. I don't do it. I do it better than what I used to. We are all our own worst critics, and we speak about ourselves to ourselves worse than anyone has ever spoken about us or to us. And I always try and catch myself when I do it, and just try and pretend how I would talk to myself if I was a friend of mine, or if I was like the kid version of myself. Like, you'd be like, that's okay. Like, you sort of have to balance between pull your fucking head in, because sometimes you need a little bit of that to yourself, and being kinder. So yeah. I mean, I was going to go down a similar route, given, the events of last week and really the last few months. And, we had Spud's game as well. And, there's talk about, let's just, slap on a mental health round for the men's. Like, let's just do a mental health round, and that'll take care of things. And all these solutions that are being thrown up, which are great. And yet we should have a men's mental health round. I think we should have a men's mental health year, personally. And so I guess I want to go a little bit more into this. Like, what does it truly mean to check in on your mates? Like, we hear these great words, and like, are you okay? And like, let's do a round, and we raise awareness, and like, all of these things are great, but they actually miss the mark of what actually needs to be done, which is the action, like the actual doing of the thing to create the solution. And this goes for every single themed issue that we have in society that the AFL use their platform to promote, whether it's, the Indigenous round, Carlton do Carlton respect, like all of them have great messages, but the action is what's most important. So I want to dive a little deeper. What's the real solution here? Because I look at us four, we're pretty good at being vulnerable with one another and being vulnerable with one another while there's an audience as well, which is something I really love about this show. And it truly gives me something. Like, that doesn't matter how bad I'm feeling, I know I'm going to enjoy going into a deep topic or getting a bit vulnerable. So I love that. And so what is it about this culture that's preventing us from getting a little bit more, I don't know if the word is spiritual, but I really do think the culture that we live in, the way that we talk about ourselves, the way that we talk about others, the way that we use alcohol or drugs to numb and distract ourselves from the real underlying thing, which is looking in the mirror and facing the demons. Like, what's the real way forward here, in your view?
Oh, that's tough.
I think the biggest one is practicing what you preach. And you mentioned, Carlton respects, and I'll use that as an example for me personally. So last year, I was going to say outspoken, but I definitely wasn't outspoken. That's not the right term. But I posted on my Swoop Instagram, before, when they were doing the standing around the circle for women with domestic violence against women. I remember posting about that and posting about the rates and all that stuff. And, it was well and good to sort of post that and put that in the forefront to all the people that follow me. But, for ages I was thinking, but how can I do something to show that it wasn't just, he's just put up a post because that's what everyone is sort of doing. And then, Carlton Respect, they do that annual run. So I raised about $250 for Carlton Respects, and I went on that 10K run around Icon Park. So I think for me personally, it's practicing what you preach. It's being vulnerable around, like, are you okay, and talking and stuff. I do have a good sort of support network around me, but I'm not one for, so like me and my best mate in the whole entire world, I was best man at his wedding. We don't talk every day. We talk once every couple of days or whatever it may be, but we're like ride and die. And if I said, mate, I'm not feeling too well today, he'd drop everything and come see me. And the same for him. Like, he's like, hey, I'm moving at the moment, I'm not feeling just too good mentally where I am. And I was like, yeah, done, I'll come help you, we'll have a coffee, we'll grab a chat, we'll have a coffee. So I think asking, are you okay, and it's a really good step, but it's the follow on from that, and it's okay. Are you okay? No, I'm not feeling too good. What can we do? Let's have a chat. Hey, how about on Wednesday? Let's go grab a coffee. Like, like, I don't even do it a lot. I'm not one for doing that as much, and I guess that's not practice. Sometimes practicing what I sort of preach, and I don't do it much. I don't do it really at all with you guys, and I not because I don't want to, just because I don't feel like it's just not practicing what I preach. I'd love to, me and Jack, we've caught up like once for a fucking breakfast at that place, but I'd love to, catch up with Pom. We always say it, and Terry will always say it, and we just never do it. And I think that's the thing. Never saying it and never doing it is where a lot of people go wrong. You have to stick to your plan, I don't know if any of that fucking made sense. I was just talking.
It did.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think you've got to change the way society works.
Yeah.
Like for me, I see way too many posts. I see way too many, I'm raising money. I see way too much, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And like all problems in society, you've got to look within. It's ownership. It's you are the change. It's not how can I be perceived by talking about it? I find all the causes that are in the AFL are absolutely fruitless. It's a box ticking exercise, and genuinely, it doesn't make a difference at all. You look at every cause that's ever existed, your children know right from wrong. Your children know not to abuse people. Your children know not to to segregate people based on the color of their skin or their religious beliefs. They're all learned behaviors. You look at your children, they're the most beautiful, innocent people. When you're sad, they feel your pain. They want to know. Like when I woke up yesterday and I was coughing and spluttering, my kids wanted to make me feel better straight away. So for me, it's a bit of an accountability, and it's changing this of what can we do so I'm perceived better, and probably going back to a more traditional value of living that your achievements are yours and yours alone. You don't need external validation, which I think then kills mental health. Because mental health, from where I come from someone that did attempt to take their lives a long time ago, from someone that spent a good portion of his teenage life not wanting to be here, I find it nothing more offensive than I see someone post, "Are you okay?" Because I'm like, you weren't fucking there 25 years for me, were you? So are you fucking kidding? Do you know what I mean? And it's quite simple. And I think that it works two ways. Something I said on my live last week when we were talking about Selwood, told the chat how much they mean to me, because I also think it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Sometimes we need to tell our friends how much we appreciate that they have checked in on us, because how many times do you sometimes check in on your mate and they go, "Nah, I'm all good, mate. I'm good." And it pisses you off when you find out he's not okay and you're like, "Bro, I was there for you." So I think it's also making sure that it's that two-way street. And I think it starts with, we've got a chance to redo it, haven't we? And I look at it on social media. I never forget COVID and the amount of wet wipes that posted 3 vaccinations and said doing my community bit. And I remember making that big point saying, I wonder how many of these people in 2 years' time, when COVID disappears, care about mental health. And you know what? Most of them I haven't seen comment about it. But it's quite simple, I think, Terry. Do something about it. Like, instead of talking about it, do something about it. I see a lot of famous people push agendas. Abby Chatfields of this world, Jordan Petersons of this world. Shut the fuck up and do something. Affect your circle, because when you preach to someone, you can't fix it. But for men's mental health, you know what I do? I make sure that my DMs are always open. I make sure that the people that are in my life now, that they are secure. And you know what? You know the one that really annoys me? Text your mate, "Are you okay?" How about be a good friend and fucking know everything about their lives? Because that's what a good friend does. A good friend has that relationship where you are so open that you can see the mistake before it happens. You can see the change in the mannerisms. You can see when he's holding something back or she's holding something back. It's about actually putting some time and effort in. It's not as simple as sitting here. And I reckon that society right now, that's where it is. I think a lot of people are so misguided that they go, "I do November in November. I'm a hero. I'm a hero. I'm so good. I did the ride for Spud. That's okay now. For the next year, I'll do fuck all. I'll just look after myself." That's what it's all about. But in reality, shouldn't need a day. So, like, for me, Carlton respects fruitless exercise. Indigenous round, fruitless exercise. Mental health, another fruitless exercise. The real skill is we as people stop looking to condemn every human being that makes a mistake. Look at every mistake as an opportunity to learn and educate them and educate ourselves. And when you realize that all of you are bastard, horrible human beings to its very core, and if the Bible is true, every single one of you will burn in them infinite fires, that's when we'll start having change. When you realize that I'm no better than anyone else, I make mistakes, but you know what? There's nowhere better. I told you about Zoe in there. There's nowhere better when you have a connection with a human being that you can fuck up. You can fuck up and feel loved. You can fuck up and not be scared. And that's something that I try and do with my kids. I want them to know they can make any mistake possible and I'll fucking punish them. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. But the beautiful thing is there's going to be some love, some hard love coming back to build them back up. And that's what we need to do. And at the moment, society, whether it's racism, whether it's domestic abuse, it's about bagging everyone down and then raising a minority up or raising a victim up, when it should be, right, everyone starts on level field. Let's lift everyone up together so no one feels left out and we move on together. And that's never going to happen. Do you know why? Because all of you have ego. So no one can ever take a back seat truly and let someone else get ahead of them. You only ever teach a great... I remember a golf coach told me when he was dying and I got his job. So he was actually really ill. And he said, I didn't train you to be as good as me. I trained you to be better at me. And he was like, that's the difference between a great coach and a coach. A great coach will train you to be better than me and surpass me. A bad one will always hold something back so he has something above you. And I think that's what we need to do in life. But unfortunately, I'm telling you, it won't happen because people would rather post about it and get likes than actually do anything about it. Statement, eat cake.
That, hit the nail on the head.
And you know what I mean? You see it. So you see it. Like, I remember Swoop, you making that post, right? Never forget this. And there was a comment from a Carlton person, right? And we all know who it is. We all know who it is because we know who we're talking about. But,
my best friend.
And he sent a screenshot from when you got really upset. And you screenshotted their Facebook profile that happened to have where they worked, right? You made a mistake, an egregious error, right? What is fascinating about that is that that person in question has some real dark things that they've done. Some real dark. I'm not going to go into it because I'm not that type of person, but this is the type of people you're dealing with. So then they had to call you out on you publicizing a campaign for domestic abuse and going, 5 years ago, you were at a low ebb and you've been open about what you were going through in depression. Someone had pushed you overboard, bullying you. You've screenshotted their Facebook profile. You hadn't, and it had their workplace, right? And straight away, you are a domestic abuser, Swoop. How dare you do this? Someone could have gone round. And that is what I'm talking about. Everyone in society has such a boring life, such a depressing life, such a lack of self-respect that the only way that society allows you to feel something is by being above someone else. And I'm telling you, right, look, guess what? Kid reached out to me last week and said, Pom, you're one of my favorite YouTubers. You're like a role model to me. And I was like, mate, get a better fucking role model, mate, because I am so flawed. Tell you don't want to be me, mate, because I am me because I have made some heinous life choices that, you know what? If the Bible is true, I'm mighty fucking scared because I am doing a long time with Lucifer. Me and Lucifer are probably going to be best mates. But you know what? All the mistakes, I'm glad. Every mistake I've made, everyone I've lied to, everyone I've cheated on, every drug I've taken, everyone I've betrayed, everyone I've said villainous things to, I'm actually happy I've done it. Now I'm 40 years old because if I hadn't made them mistakes and I hadn't been a victim of my own emotions and a lack of control, I wouldn't have a wonderful wife. I wouldn't have wonderful kids because I would have still been so arrogant that I couldn't make mistakes. And I know I can make mistakes. And that's it. Like, if you are going to literally, everyone's flawed. And the minute we realize we're all deeply flawed human beings, that's the case. And the big thing is make mistakes. If you are a young man or woman watching this, make mistakes. And you know what? Sometimes you won't get the forgiveness you deserve because we all do things in the heat of the moment and we do stupid things and we say stupid things. But there's always a chance to say sorry. They might not accept it, but there's always a chance to learn from it. And that's the only time it becomes a problem, when you don't change. You don't change if you keep going on the path. And if you're a friend, instead of exposing someone's DMs or exposing something they've done, be a real man, be a real friend and DM them next time. And this is how you cure everything, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you the cure. You, as a friend, should contact your mate and say, you know, when you said this, someone might hear that and think this about you. But you're my brother and I love you. And I know that's not who you are. So I just want you to let you know you were a bit of a dickhead when you said that. You're a bit of an arsehole. And that's when someone who loves you tells you made a mistake. That's a lot better than that guy DMing Swoop and going, you're a misogynist, you did this. Maybe if he really cared about Swoop, he'd DM him and go, do you remember when you made this mistake? And then Swoop can learn from it. because learning means it never happens again. But it'll never happen. It's a fruitless argument. We've wasted 20 minutes of our lives. Sorry.
Jake, you want to add
Certainly
anything
not
to that?
I don't think I can add. I mean, I'm just thinking from my own personal perspective, being vulnerable to certain people in life. And it's also different parts of my life, even like calling you earlier today. To me, that's really important, you know, to connect with you, Terry, and get some advice on something that's really important to me and you actually taking the time to listen. It's that sort of situation that I think everyone, like the key thing is that people have those people in their lives, but it's sometimes they don't know they're there, you know, and that's that jump that they need to make. Some of them are there. They're willing to listen. And that's the key thing is you're not always wanting a resolution or a solution. You just need someone to just sit down and talk to. And like, I've got a great friend in Geelong, Josh, that I've known for a long time. And it's almost a bit of a, you know, not a running gag, but me and him have just D&Ms. That's just what we do. And to me, it's going to a cafe and just talking for 20 minutes. And what Pom alluded to before was, it's putting, the key thing is putting the ego aside and not thinking that you're perfect. Because once you think that, there's nothing to fix. You're papering over the cracks. And I've met many people that you can't break down their walls. You can't connect to them in that sort of way because they think that what they're doing is right. And accountability is the other one. That's something I've learned probably the hard way is if someone stuffs up to just tell them and not to just let them be on their way and you know, it's their problem. Just call it out if you hear it. And I've even done that at family things, you know, to be honest, or whatever. If someone says something and it maybe hasn't hurt anyone in that vicinity, but if it gets out of that area, it's like, hey, you can't be saying that. You can't be doing that.
That's the biggest
you know?
thing.
That's the thing that I probably as a kid, I mean, because I was a shy kid, I probably wasn't that confident in myself anyway. And I just thought, well, I'll just let them be them. That's just them. It's like, not anymore. You know, we can all be better. We won't be perfect, but you can always be better.
I think I've definitely learned people cure these things for themselves in different ways. Like I don't really open up, and when I'm going through the shit, when I've been in the darkest of darkest times mentally, I haven't really opened up about it publicly. I mean, very few do. Like Luke, seeing the way you open up, like that's really inspiring and brave. I don't have. If it's in a conversation, I think I can do it. But you ignite the conversation with some of the content that you make, which is like incredible.
Thank you.
Like you really, you know, I don't have that, you know, in me. But if it's in the conversation, easy done. No, I'm a bit more secure and safe with the four of us and a couple hundred people, which is a weird thing. But yeah, Pommy, when you spoke about like you at the end of the day, you have to accept and own it for yourself. Like I've got a friend at the moment who I don't know what to do. He's no good. And I've had many times where I've brought him over, we sat down. He doesn't want to acknowledge that he's no good. And it's like, I can only be here so much. I need you to be there for yourself and acknowledge something's not right. And, you know, and it's really difficult. So from a friend perspective, it's hard to be there. For myself, I don't know, there's something about the nitty gritty and just getting to the next day that has worked for me, and just knowing that the good times are coming. I just don't have it in me in this part of my life where I'm like, giving up's not an option. And if I ever truly, truly need to open up to someone, I'm lucky I've got my sister. My sister's really good. My best mate who lives in Norway, he's really good like that. So yeah, I guess, you know, you got to find your support network as well and people that you trust. So
yeah. Yep.
That's the key part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing as well, Terry, just to touch on what you said there, is it's very important as well. I think sometimes society tells us we have to be there.
Yeah.
And you don't. You don't, because sometimes you always have to protect yourself. And the most important person to protect in life is yourself. So to cover what Jake said and you, sometimes people don't want to acknowledge that. And that's where you've got to make a choice. Is this affecting me? And am I going to go down the rabbit hole? Or do I have to pull away? And trust me, the most important person in my life didn't talk to me for a year, my pop. For a whole year. When I went to rehab for heroin addiction, we had a phone call where he said I was dead to him. And I can't tell you how much that hurt me. And I don't think I've ever recovered, but I lost my idol. I'd lost my idol and I needed him. I needed him so, so bad. And I don't think he realized how much I needed him. And I understood where he was coming from. It was the ultimate betrayal. We had a relationship growing up that my pop used to say, you could murder someone tomorrow. And if you tell me, son, I will fucking find a way to make that body go missing and you get away with it. And I'll deal with you. But always do it. But he had to walk away because I'd betrayed him. And luckily we had it. But sometimes you've got to walk away. You've got to. And you can't force yourself there because I've seen good friends of mine be with mates that they have who are going down the spiral. And it affects them as well. It affects them because sometimes people won't. And you know what makes me sad, Terry? What Swoop does is that's the most masculine thing in the world. Young men out there need to do it. Being open with your weaknesses is the ultimate strength for two reasons. One, your enemies never have power over you. When you are open about your past and you are open about who you are, no one has power anymore over you. You have the ultimate power. That is divinity right there. And number two, never be scared of showing your vulnerability because if you've dealt with it, it's not a vulnerability. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one can tease me about being a drug addict. I've had it in comments. What are you going to do? Been clean for nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
Ooh, Pom did heroin. That's on you. You know what I mean? Man up and do a real drum instead of weed.
Well, I'm glad we had this conversation.
It's a good conversation to have. And I think we've said this a million times whenever we do these shows that it's just, okay, the first 20 minutes we're talking about our week, our football weekend and stuff like that, and our teams and stuff. But then it morphs into something that is, and I think that's the beauty about it. And I think that's why people gravitate towards this show. I know it's across all of our channels and stuff like that. But no one's doing what we're doing and having these conversations. And I think it starts. It starts with us. It really starts with us.
Well, I think. Yeah, I mean, we'll keep having these conversations, no doubt. So I think it's a good time to get back onto the footy, which does bring us joy and also heartache.
Was it?
Actually, yeah. No, it doesn't bring much joy.
Does it?
Every so often.
Couple times a year.
But gee, they're so fucking disappointing, aren't they?
Yeah,
anyway.
so disappointing.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we should move into our locks of the week. You know what I love doing? You know what I love doing lately? This is what I love doing lately. I'm going to see this for like the 6th time in 3 days.
Oh, he's ladder prediction shit.
Oh, no.
Like we just spent 30 minutes doing mental health, and Terry's trying to massively affect mine.
He's trying to get
Do you know what I mean? I have to keep going to this Zen place.
Well, it's time for lock of the week. I'm starting. It's I couldn't be more sure.
Do it.
The Saints, they'll be hammered all week. They'll be questioned, all that. Absolutely St Kilda-esque. Dimmer doesn't like playing at Marvel, hates it. This is St Kilda.
Jake, can I ask a question? And this might sound... Well, this is a question for all Australians because I haven't Googled it and I'm just going to utilise the 225 people watching. Like your team at the minute has changed its name to Euroke. Is that like the actual translation in Aboriginal for St Kilda, or is that the area, or what is that?
I believe it's the area.
Okay, cool. All right.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's a
I
direct translation. Not from what I've read.
Yeah, because I just noticed yours is the weirdest. Like the Eagles and that they've got the hyphens. So I was wondering, is that like an actual translation
actually-
of Saint Kilda?
No, sorry, I'm mistaken. It is.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I
Yeah,
know
it's a
now
boon-
is Melbourne.
Yeah,
It's
and that's
Melbourne.
that's why I think some clubs just don't do it, because there'd be a lot of Nams then, I believe. Is that the case? Like Richmond would be Nam technically.
I think there's
because
still,
of the area, Essendon as well.
Yeah, I know our one is Yalla. I'm gonna mispronounce it, but it's Yalla Biraung or something. Is actual Collingwood, or Vic Park, or wherever it sort of is. But in saying that,
okay.
I've checked. Yeah, I think it is because they did a
Consider me educated.
Yalla Biraung. It's yeah, it is. It's the Collingwood area. Yeah, the area between, it's like around Fitzroy and Collingwood.
So does Carlton have one?
Did you have one last? I thought you had one last year, or am I mistaken?
There was an article that had all the different names.
I'm not even going to pronounce that, but it says that we would be on the lands of the Warring people. Sorry for massacring that. I tried my best.
No, ours means the grinding stone place, or place of the grinding stone. That's Euroke.
That's really cool. That's a cool name. Can I remember the Maoris? Like a lot of the Maori places, like Mount Moganui, is because the English asked the Maoris what it was called, so they'd be like, "We call that mountain. What do you call?" And that's why it's actually translated in English as it's mountain, because the Poms were like, "Oh, Moganui." They were trying to tell us it's a mountain. We were like, "Oh, so you call it Mount Moganui?" And it actually roughly translates that we've massacred it to mountain, which always made me laugh. I was like, you could just see an English person going, yeah, that's great. We'll just call that Moganui, yeah?
So, do we have locks of the week, guys?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, my lock of the week is Carlton. If you can't beat the Giants, you may as well just fold.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they'd be my lock, but I said last week to Pom that you'd lose to Sydney, and then I can see you smacking the Giants. I don't know if that means I said that last week. Like, you can go back to last week's episode.
He did.
I think, I don't know if they'd be my lock, but I'll tip Carlton. But I think my lock is the Bulldogs at GMHBA.
Ooh,
yeah. Oh,
I'm loving.
Bailey Smith isn't going to play after he didn't train today. There's no fucking way he pulls out.
Look, even if he doesn't play, I think they still win. I think they're
100%
that good at the moment.
100%. But there's no way he doesn't play.
No, I think he'll play. Although, yeah, it's Thursday night.
The Dogs at
touch and go.
GMHBA. Fair enough. Pommy?
I think that.
What's
Yeah, that'll be it.
Oh God, you've left me some fucking shit, haven't you?
North.
No.
That's honestly a banana. It's honestly a banana.
You know what?
For us.
After last year, yeah.
Me and Luke talked about it a lot last night on Monday night. It was the Saints game, but also this game. The most Port thing ever and the most Fremantle thing ever. Port to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it really is.
Like, honestly, if there was ever a situation, Fremantle look like they've got it together, Port look like they're about to fold, it's Port win that game. And you just don't know what you're doing with your life anymore.
Even Melbourne. I didn't see that. Melbourne against Sydney at the G.
Yeah, that's 100% Melbourne, though, isn't it? Because they've got no team.
Even Richmond over Essendon as well could be a cheeky how's it going.
Well,
it could be quite a bit of upsets.
Let's now tip the rest. Essendon, Richmond.
I think Richmond is my vote.
I reckon bollocking from Brad Scott, Ethnics boys get up, who's in chat.
I'm backing you in, mate. I wouldn't go against you, mate. I'm here for you.
I'm tipping the Bombers.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm 100% calling the Bombers. Bombers fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
I want Richmond to win, but yeah, Essendon's a safe
The
tip.
Bombers will win. They'll be 8th. Carlton will be 9th. I just know it. We'll play them after the bye. It's
Hawthorn, Brisbane.
Hawthorn Brisbane at the MCG.
Hawthorn. Hawthorn.
Yeah.
I think Brisbane's form. They got through a few wins early in the season and they weren't at their best, and now it's sort of catching up a little bit. And Hawthorn played well last week. They just lost in a really good shootout to the Suns, so I don't think their form's poor going into it. It's at the MCG.
I'm going to go Brisbane because they're the
I think
champs.
Hawthorn.
Briz fraud.
Really?
Nah, I'm only joking.
Okay.
But I am
Wait,
tipping
Luke-
Hawthorn here.
Oh, so Luke, who did
Yeah.
you tip?
I said Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hawthorn it is. Anyone up for North Melbourne to beat Collingwood? No.
Nah.
I'll do an overnight. I'll do an overnight stream like
Hey, look,
Yeah.
Swoop's going to say it's a 50-50.
No,
Oh,
it's not definitely not 50-50. But I think it might be a banana peel game. Because no, it genuinely is. Just like I talked to a bunch of St Kilda supporters before the St Kilda West Coast game and told me the exact same thing, that it was a banana peel game. The St Kilda supporters I talked to, none of them were confident that you'd beat West Coast over there. So I think it's that old.
It's that old. If your mentality is off by 5%, you can lose to any team on any given day.
That's 100% what it is. There was no way Richmond were going to beat Carlton at the start of the year. No one would have
You're
guessed it.
comparing
And
yourself
look what
to St Kilda that were what 5 and
No,
5. You're
it's
8 and 2, bro.
It's not a comparison. I'm just saying as a
Yeah, but
as a
St
Collingwood
Kilda fans
fan-
are always
don't-
nervous.
Yeah. You cannot, mate. You cannot be comparing North v Collingwood at Marvel to Saints away to the Eagles at Optus.
Yeah, but
You cannot be comparing the two.
No. But same things happened last year. What happened there? We were down by 54 points and had to come back and win by a point. It's just because that mentality is like, oh, we should beat them by 80 points. We should beat them by 100 points. You know, we get them when they're coming
You'll beat them by
coming into speed.
you'll beat them by 40 plus.
We'll beat them by
everyone.
20 to 30
Humble
points. I
Luke
guarantee it.
is shit. Go back to the old Luke. Humble Luke is rubbish.
Yeah, he knows they're gonna flog him too. He just doesn't want to say it. He doesn't want to
Okay.
get clipped.
Okay.
He'll have this next. I'll give you this next week.
I get where he's coming from. I do.
You know, I think
do.
we'll win by 20 to 30 points. You can ask any Collingwood player, supporter.
Banana skin game, 5-goal win.
Pardon?
You played. Nah,
You said
you're gonna-
banana skin game and you're predicting a 5-goal margin. You're more confused than
20 to 30.
Scooby-Doo.
20 to 30 points, yeah.
You're a
That's
2-goal a quarter better team than North already. So that's what 50 points to me.
All right, we'll see.
Under the roof,
We'll-
mate.
We'll see on Tuesday.
All right. Moving right along. Adelaide, West Coast at the Adelaide
Eagles.
Oval.
Eagles.
What?
Crows by 100.
I swear,
I'll
if I see Crows put on a cricket score against the Eagles this weekend after what's just happened, at the very least, I want the Eagles to just fight it out another week. Or they don't just play your grand final against the Saints. Like, back it up.
Oh, you're like Carlton, where we just wanted Richmond to win one more time, so we weren't.
Yeah,
that sad.
like back it up the next week. Then I'll feel a little better. But watch Adelaide.
I remember it well.
What's Adelaide's final score going to be in this game?
117.
You reckon just 117? I reckon they're going to go 140 plus.
Fuck. Oh, actually, they are the best offensive team in the competition.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
They could. Yeah, they could. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
we
gonna
beat
be
West-
Bobby to win
yeah.
that game, mate.
Gavin makes a point. Blues beat West Coast by 72, and our supporters treated it like a banana skin game. That's true. Melbourne, Sydney,
Ooh.
MCG.
See, this is a very Melbourne thing to beat, but they're both as bad as each other.
Well, they're 4
I
and
think
they're
it'll be-
4-1 Melbourne in their last 5. Their form's been great.
But if you listen to Daniel Hoyne, who said if you watch the real ladder, Sydney are the best team in the land. That being said, Melbourne by 5 goals.
Yeah, Melbourne.
I think Melbourne will win this. Yeah.
Yep.
And
right.
we're not even voting on the last. He's not even putting in screen. There we go. So we all vote.
Wait, is anybody else going to tip St Kilda, or is it just me?
No, I'm pretty sure I tipped St Kilda in my actual tips.
Yeah.
Hang on.
This is quintessential St Kilda. Quintessential. After the bad loss that everyone's so angry about and, burn down the walls, it's like you win the next week.
The Suns are flying.
They're no good at Marvel.
It would be the most Suns thing, though, in the world, wouldn't it? To
Yeah.
lose at Marvel.
But don't you
Yeah,
think
I
they
tipped-
already did that with Richmond? Surely they're not going to. Oh, you did. Okay.
Tip Saints.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to sell the Suns. I want us to win, but I'm just saying, if they hadn't lost to Richmond yet and learnt their lesson, I feel like that's that loss that they had. But I mean, if they do it again, I'll take it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I'm just scared of what Ben King's gonna do.
You'll be fine, Jake.
Oh boy.
Look, either
just
way,
wanna-
I'll be there watching your review. Don't worry. I'll be there for you.
I also
J
just want
Dub
to flag
said-
something.
Sorry, go.
No,
What's
I
that?
just want to flag something. So I'm going to get in early before we start getting the whole, Carlton gifted from the AFL. Just so you know, round 24, Carlton play Essendon. Okay? Essendon also have to play the catch-up game with the Gold Coast Suns. That's going to happen on the Tuesday. Carlton will then play the Bombers on the Saturday. So don't
is that
start
happening on
the...
Tuesday?
Yeah, so just getting in early. I don't want to hear the AFL gifted Carlton a spot in finals. Just so you're
Well-
all prepared for it now.
Well, playing West Coast and North Melbourne twice in a season is a pretty big gift.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah,
we also play
Essendon
Collingwood and
twice in the
Hawthorn.
bottom 4.
We also play Collingwood and Hawthorn twice in the season.
But you guys went back to back North and West Coast, both
I
by
know,
8
twice.
points each.
Yeah,
And
we
you
play
get- you
Collingwood
get-
and Hawthorn as well.
We get North
Back to
Coast
back,
again before we
twice.
get West Coast once.
Yeah, what do you mean back to back twice? Look, you played in the granny.
Not last year. Last year we
Well,
finished
you-
ninth.
are you saying back to back seasons?
Oh no, I'm just saying you get them twice this year.
Yeah, we also get Collingwood and Hawthorn twice this year.
Yeah, but you guys finished. What I'm saying is you guys finished 8.
Yeah.
Collingwood finished 9.
Yeah.
We still haven't played Carlton, Richmond, West Coast, or North Melbourne yet.
But you will play them.
Eventually,
Yeah,
we don't.
so it's
but
like
you know that we don't play, but we don't play West Coast until you guys play West Coast and North Melbourne again. You play them 4 times before we play West Coast once.
I was saying you play West Coast and then North in the first part of the year, and then you play West Coast North again back to back. It's not just like double ups; it's double ups doubling up in a row.
He's
I'm like,
baiting you, boys. He's baiting
you guys are
Unreal.
all so gullible.
Unreal.
Giga Chad, the most gullible of all. The most gullible of all. And you're clearly not tuned into the Blue Abroad YouTube channel because I've been saying we've been gifted
I've
top
just
four
got.
on a platter and we've thrown it away.
I've just got. I can't believe breaking news: 2026 fixture. First 3 weeks just dropped for Carlton. Round 1, Richmond. Then you got North and West Coast. Not a bad start to the year.
Can I
Shit.
just ask, why do
0
we get
and
so
3.
obsessed with who plays who in the first 10 rounds as opposed to like the whole fixture's got to play out? So, I think the Pies are about to start playing all these bottom 4 teams now. Is that right? Like, is in the
Yeah.
next 4 to 6? Like, so what?
In the next 6, yeah.
So like it all plays out.
Yeah, in a way.
And
In a
if
way,
they're all
in a
gimmies, then
roundabout
why
way.
didn't Carlton? If they're all gimmies, then why didn't Carlton beat Richmond? And why
Yeah,
didn't
but-
St Kilda
Yeah,
beat
well,
West Coast?
that's the other thing. Yeah, it depends how you
'Cause
are
our
on the
teams
day as well.
suck. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, the answer's obvious because we shit.
Pretty. Is that a yeah?
That's
That's, not a
why.
trick question, is it? I mean,
Oh dear. Well,
Good
was a good show.
sesh. Good
was a good
sesh,
sesh.
as always.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any last words before we wrap it up?
If you're into reading books, read the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. There's seven books. There's only 6 books out. This is the 5th one. Very good. I don't know. I think I might have recommended it before, but very good. If you're into like Dungeons and Dragons, RPGs, and stuff like that, definitely get onto it. Cheap on eBay, $50 a book.
Oh,
really good, really good.
Are we all
Quite a thick
practicing?
book.
Yeah. Are we all practicing AFL 26?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
for our
just
live stream.
already
Yeah,
good.
I haven't
really good at it.
downloaded. I have the game, but I haven't downloaded it yet.
I played it pre-show to try and take my mind off things, but got
But you
belted.
lost Eagles
Got
away.
belted.
Can I just say, I played it last night and I actually had a rant because no word of a lie. This is actually gospel. I was just practicing a career mode because we're going to do some videos. I was just getting my head around the system and no word of a lie, but I was playing it on hard difficulty and Motlop conceded 50 that lost a game against Brisbane in pre-season. And I was just can't get away from this shit. What is going on?
It is actually.
I can't wait.
It is actually way more fun than this year's.
Yeah,
I have to admit,
it's-
It does
it's a lot
feel like
better.
I can chip the ball around and have a game plan compared to just chaos, tackle, ball falls out. So it's.
Are we
It
going
does
to
feel
do
better.
that? Are we going to do it in the bye? Have we all
Yes.
got the bye at the same time?
Yeah, for sure.
No, we
Oh.
don't. No, we don't.
Don't we?
Blues have
I
the bye, and then Saints have the bye the next week. I think Collingwood have it around 12.
We'll just do a special
Yeah.
Tuesday night where we do our show while playing. Like it's not that hard to do
Yeah,
both.
that's true. That's a good idea.
No, but I mean, we should be in the same room.
That's what I mean. We will. We
Call
will
it
do it.
beers.
We'll do it in a studio and organize it, and then we'll just do our show at the same time.
Me and Jake can finally just glass each other instead of just having needle over the airwaves.
I really need to
No,
get the game. All right, fine.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Hopefully,
have a great night.
This time next week, we're all going to be winners, boys. We're all going to be winners.
We will be. We actually will be.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're all
I
gonna
can't wait to be
winners.
the only one that doesn't win next week. I
I'm
can
not
just
coming
feel
Look
on
at
it.
him.
next
Look
week.
at
I
him.
can just feel it. I can just
Oh,
fucking feel it.
Swoop, honestly,
Look at him.
shut
Look
the
at him.
Fuck up.
Boot him out of this. Terry,
It's a
you're-
10-goal win, mate. Don't worry about it.
Oh, dear.
look at it. He knows too. You can see the
You guys
little.
don't get it. You guys don't get it. You guys don't.
Oh, you're telling me I don't get it, do you? He's telling us. He's
You guys don't
he's
get it.
telling us. He's telling us that we don't get it. You see me,
You guys
yeah?
don't get
You
it.
see me,
You guys don't get it. You don't get it.
mate. Who's admin here? Boot him out. Let's go.
All right, let's get out of here. Good night, everybody.
Good night. See you guys.
See you guys.